Now,
Ready to love.
panties can come along with love, but you ain't got to mention panties. And that's my point I'm trying to make. You don't have to mention panties when it comes to love, because surely if you love someone, most people are on sex, whether it's before marriage or after marriage, that's going to be included. Why do you specifically need to keep mentioning the sex? That's the part which I'm trying to highlight here.
So big in marriages, maybe that might have been a thing. That's probably why a lot of marriages fail, but not mine. But maybe that might be a reason why marriages have failed. She was good people, for those. I really do not know what's going to happen. I really don't, because I'm gone, right? So I don't know, but I'm being honest with you. But the thing is, based off of me, what I would do if I was still there to vote or something like that, she next for me. Because what I seen based off TV, what y'all seen, all that cussing at her, we're ready to fight, talking about all that. No man want all that. And so you doing the most, but I did the most because I'm talking about sex. Well, put me on.
Do you know about Batman and Robin?
Yeah, I'm Batman.
Fantastic. So you know the story of Batman and Robin, right?
Not the whole story.
Okay, so you know a little bit about Batman and Robin, right?
I do.
Okay. You know about the Joker?
I do know about the Joker.
Okay. Here's my thing. I
You
really
calling
appreciate.
me the Joker?
Huh?
You calling me the Joker?
Do you know what the funny thing is? Do you know how I knew you clock on? Because you're a smart person. You're trying to pull my leg. Let me tell you something. You know exactly what you're doing, Lamar, and you fell for it. Listen, you know exactly what you're doing. No. You know exactly what you're doing. You are playing a character, and this is exactly what I mean. You are playing a character, and this is what I'm trying to say. You can read the room. You're not dumb. Listen, you're a very intelligent person, and this is how I knew that you were playing a game. Because, listen, I don't know what your end goal is. Maybe you've got TV in mind, maybe you've got some things in mind, whatever, right? But what you're giving me is an oxymoron. For someone to say they are a coach to help kids and want to motivate them, but comes on Ready to Love and talks sexual boundaries and pushes the boundaries of women in that place, yes, you are the Joker. You're here to jest, and you are playing a character, which is why I'm telling you that, listen, until you come real, we can't get to know the real you. I know part of what your character is also very true, because your background tells us that you would play the Joker. Why? Because it's a defense mechanism, and it's a beautiful one. It works beautiful. It's a truth, yet while at the same time it's a great act at the same time. That's what I'm saying to you. Listen, until you come real, I can't believe half the things that you say to me. So I'm telling you that I've clocked you. That's why I knew you would pick up the story about the Joker, because you're an intelligent person. A dumb person would have been like, Joker, Batman, don't make no sense. But you knew exactly what it was, because you are an intelligent folk person. So when I'm saying that you're pushing the boundaries of Maya, you knew exactly what you were doing. So what is the objective goal? Why did you come on to Ready to Love? Well, I want to know, what did you come on Ready to Love for? What did Lamar come on to Ready to Love to do? That's what we want to know. Really and truly, what did you come on for?
Real talk? To show the world how different men talk to women. Real talk. And to be on TV also. Everybody want to be on TV. Every woman did. You got to be on TV. And of course, ready to love someone, is that there's a process, but that might not be the person you're supposed to love, but if you're getting things and you go through this process, that's cool, man. But it might not be that person. But my whole objective was to show people where I'm from. This how we talk, man. This how we move. It might not be like you like it, but they want to see people holler. It's like, I'm gonna come up to you and talk to you, baby. How you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, my experience was to show the world, like, we'll come up to you. That wasn't my thing of dating. No, we're gonna go with it. I'm gonna work that room, but my thing is, I'm gonna do it my way. So my thing was to go in there and show the world how Black men, we go up there, we're established, man. We do our things, and maybe we push it. Maybe some don't. See, you're different. It's not that we're disrespecting you. Yeah, but don't disrespect us now, because I can make you show yourself. Yeah, real quick. And so now the women gonna see that ain't no man gonna like that. Ain't no real man ain't gonna like that. Because if you know them or not, if talking about sex is a thing with our community. Just ours. Yeah. When you're talking about sex in the Black community, it's a problem. You should do a podcast on that. Like, talking about,
I've spoken about it before.
Like, it don't have to be first, second, or last. It's still sex. So we talk about money. So let the niggas, I'm broke. If he say I'm broke first, then what you do? Crickets. Right. So my thing is, so you say sex. Ooh, you know what? No, he didn't. But say broke.
Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to Little Black Boat 91. I know it's early for you guys who are in America, but it's lunchtime for those in UK. Listen, we are going to be talking to you guys about the debrief concerning Lamar's interview yesterday night. I do apologize. I did have the time on yesterday. Yeah, I can't lie to you. I was dead to the world. So I do appreciate your patience. I appreciate the fact that you guys are stuck with me, and I really, really appreciate you know, that you guys turned up again this morning to have this conversation. I won't be doing it alone. I have Sean here as well. I probably should send a message to the group, actually. My bad, bro. You know, I'm learning to be better. But I thought it might be a little bit early for them. But yeah, no, we're going to have a good conversation today. I wanted to let that video play for a few minutes just so that you can get a little bit of an inkling of what happened last night, because I have a particular perspective, and Sean may have a different one. I have a particular perspective, which I let him know to his face. I felt like he was playing. I can't lie to you. I felt it was very scripty. I felt like once I called him out, if you call someone out to saying they're playing and they're not playing, their immediate response isn't to start laughing and telling you and thinking. It was the same response. I got the same response from him that I got from that guy that said he had 7 baby mothers who want to just give him children and didn't really care about the kids, and because they have the same thing they're trying to do. They're trying to present this script, right? Similar to the guy that said I had so many women that wanted to sleep with me and give me children, and it's their fault, and it's all a script, right? And that's why there were certain words that were being used to try and almost rile up the audience. At one point, he leaned up and said, "Black women are," and I said, "Bro, we don't do that here. You're not gonna use that and work that here. I see your script. Choose a new one, right?" And that Batman Robin joke that I always come with, it's the same thing I use on the other guy, right? I don't know what it is. I don't know where it came from, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know how I made it up. But when I do that Batman Robin routine, as soon as you say certain characters, the person, when they identify with a character, they tend to say they're who they are. And that's why when I said Joker, he immediately went, "Yeah, and you think I'm the Joker?" I said, "There, I got you. There you go." Because I wasn't saying anything. I was just mentioning names to see which one you would stand out to. And he bit, because an intelligent person also, it's almost like you can read between the lines. People who are not very smart, unfortunately, don't read the lines very well. So when you say certain things, it goes over their head. It didn't go over his head. He read between the lines and he chose something. Now, maybe people might not feel it's a script. Maybe feel like he's that ignorant. I'm not saying that there isn't truth to what he's doing. There is absolute truth to what he's doing. There is no doubt in my mind that there's a truth to what he's doing. In terms of maybe wanting to be a little bit outrageous, a character. He if you listen to his backstory, that's the way he survived, right? So part of his character is very, very true. But just like acting, most great actors find truth in a character and identify with their personhood. So I feel like he's playing a character. I feel like he's somebody who's playing a character, and he had an intention of going on that show to try and create something. Because really and truly, some of the answers, it wasn't neurodivergent. When you hear someone who's neurodivergent, for me, they go on these wild tangents where their story becomes convoluted completely. But when I heard his story, it wasn't the same way I've heard previous people. Now, maybe he's a different type of neurodivergent, who knows? But it wasn't the usual kind of way. Like when I remember Justice from Miami, that's an intelligent brother, but he's got the neurodivergent. You could hear it, the way he told stories. I did it. Same thing with Corey. Same thing with AJ, previous seasons. You can hear the way they go off tail. It's like, ooh. But they're intelligent people. This didn't feel like this. This didn't feel like this. And I know people, maybe for women, they will have a different opinion. I didn't really feel the hate from him. I didn't get the hate. Well, I didn't feel it. He didn't even do it enough. Like for me to even feel like he hated women. It felt like, you know what? He been hurt. He been broken, and he gonna play a little bit. But That's my opinion again, and I know people might be feel like a maybe different. Someone said that that man is not that smart, coach. You don't need to be. There's a level of intelligence that comes with acting that doesn't require you to be the highest academical intelligence. There are many forms of intelligence when someone is intelligent. It's not just someone is academically intelligent. His intelligence is not my intelligence, right? But to play a particular role, it takes a level of intelligence, right? Even if we don't recognize it. And that's why I'm seen as a level of intelligence in terms of being able to understand certain concepts and certain things. And he's smart enough to play a particular role. That's how I feel anyway. That's how I feel. But I agree that there are different points of view, and I'm open to it today. So we're gonna have a conversation, yeah. But yeah, Sean, talk to me, bro. Like, what was? I know obviously the interview was an interesting one, but I don't know. What did you feel? What did you gather? What's your perspective on this?
I had to go in and out, with it. I had family in town, so I like watched it in pieces. But what was so interesting is because one of my family members I happened to have it playing as we were about to head out to dinner, and she was like, "Who is this guy?" You know what I mean? And then she listened for like a little bit, and she was like, she hasn't watched the show. She's watched Ready to Love in the past, but she's not watching this season. She was like, I can already tell he's a problem, just by the way he's talking and kind of bragging on himself and really having no self-awareness. So I just found him to be highly problematic in the I don't know if self-awareness is just a theme that's running rampant in this particular season, but every single person, and I think somebody else, another creator said this as well, is that every single person that was eliminated, they didn't have any self-awareness. And I think he's just another one on the spectrum of lacking self-awareness, and he's just more on the extreme end. And I do agree. I hear the because women get triggered by men that express themselves like him, so they immediately peg them in a particular category. And look, for your safety, you probably should peg him wherever you feel like you need to peg him. If you need to put him in the category of he's a problematic, he's misogynistic, probably, because that's going to keep you safe and keep you away from him, because he is not ready to love. You definitely, I'm glad you made that point to him, whether he believes it or not. Hopefully that's something he can sit on, but he is definitely not ready to love because he's been hurt. And this is what people do. They create personas. They create a shell and a shield, because it's just a wall. And I think people are used to seeing walls in women, but men create walls as well. And this is just a wall that a man creates. He creates a veneer that is braggadocious, is boisterous, because he's putting himself out there and being ridiculous so that you can't tell him he's not when he's being himself. Because what happened is there were probably points in time where he was himself and he got rejected. He didn't get treated fairly. Maybe he was vulnerable and his feelings got hurt. So, or, maybe he was with a woman that, told him something that he really didn't want to hear about himself. So he created this whole persona so that he can be the one doing the hurting. He can be the one being the clown. They say the tears of a clown, and not to call him an actual clown, but it's the, the performer, but behind the performance is tears of pain. And this is what they do to avoid getting hurt like that again. So that's what I saw from him. But it's it still doesn't mean he's not dangerous. It still doesn't mean that he can't hurt somebody. It still doesn't mean that he's someone that he should be avoided at all costs. I mean, I just really want to be clear about that. He can be harmful because that lack of self-awareness, him convincing himself when you said, you don't think you push boundaries? You don't think that you made the ladies uncomfortable? No, I didn't make them uncomfortable. They were talking about all those other things. No, but you needn't be focused on what other people are doing. What are the women that you were in interactions with, and how are they responding when you make these comments? So, yeah, that's my little assessment of him.
And I think you made a great assessment, right? And I think there's I love the fact you know mentioned that he created this veneer almost, right? This wall. He's created this particular armor, and just using some of the information, going through 14 different schools will do something to you, and having to recreate yourself 14 different times. He may have found a perfect formula to protect himself. Like he said, he had to fight as well at one point, right? How do you get to a place? Well, you might find a formula that works to avoid that situation. You become something, right? Like he said, I realized I had to start fighting to show people what it is, and they leave you alone after a while, right? Well, at the same time too, there may have been some deep wounded pains. Like I said, his father had passed early, single motherhood as well. We didn't go too deep into that. And you can almost create you can almost, let me not even say create. He said, he's funny that he said that the only woman that hurt him was the last ex, right? And I find that intriguing, and I tried to ask him a bit more to try and tap into that. He really couldn't really give me an answer. I think he was hurt before then. I think there was already a wound from young, and once a wound from the past links up with a wound from the present, these two collide and create storms, right? And so with that situation, if you notice something that he kept on doing, he kept on making it pertinently clear that he had friends. I wasn't trying to say he didn't have friends at all. I wasn't even trying to think if he had friends or not. It wasn't even my point. But he made it effortlessly clear several times he had friends. Almost again, painting the persona that, he's not lonely, he's not somebody that's ostracized, he's not somebody that doesn't have people around that care about him, he's good, right? But that also is a wall, especially as men, that we can use in order to not feel like we are not valued or not cared about and not appreciated. Hence why none of his conversation when I was asking him was anything to do with any of the emotions. He would never talk about his emotions, only spoke about the event. And then when I asked him to speak about emotions, he said, I don't need to. I'm a coach. I'm a motivator. He defined himself by his roles that he plays because that's where he finds his value. And if you've been listening to me the last few days, I've been talking about this, that a lot of men from childhood are not given value until they do something. And especially if you're in a single parent household, maybe, and you've gone through some certain things in life, you've gone through 14 different schools. Yeah, you might also feel like, your validation comes when you do something, right? And the reason why I felt like he was playing is because one of the things that I learned about being on the streets is when you become offensive, women get drawn to you. Let me say the type of women that I'm talking about. When you become offensive, there's a type of woman that actually draws towards you. So I can weaponize the truth to get what I want, right? So if I say to you, for instance, yeah, I'm a bad boy, I can't be loved and I can't be cared for. I don't feel I'm ever going to be in a relationship, and you know what? I'm only about sex. What's going to happen is there's a type of woman who believes she can change that. There's a type of woman that feels that she can overcome that. There's a type of woman who believes she can save me, will reach out and try to save me. And inadvertently, what will happen is I get to have the power in that interaction because she's trying to save me. But meanwhile, I'm just trying to have whatever I want to have. So when he says that, when he's saying those wild things to the women, I'm now going to align with what Sean is saying. That is also part of the persona of also as well. If I get rejected at the first buck stop, I didn't get rejected at the deep. You reject me here, then I know that, you know what, you don't want me, that's cool, I'm good. But if I let you get past that shield and you reject me there, then there's some deep wounds. Hence why the two ex-wives, whatever's happened there, he said some things have happened within a relationship as well. So sometimes we create these personas in order to protect oneself. Let me give an example and I'll let Sean jump in. Like if I'm going to approach a woman, right? Like let's say when I was younger, I approach a woman, right? Or let's say, okay, let me give you an example. I enter someone's DMs. We start talking, yeah? And when we start talking, I like the girl. But now she asks me, oh, what, do you like me? And she's like, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like you the same way. I'm so sorry. You go, no. I was coming as a friend. You put that wall up straight away. No, I was coming as a friend when you really weren't. What am I saying by this? Is that like, you you play this role almost in a sense because you want to protect yourself. You want to make sure that you aren't going to be hurt again. And so sometimes you take these kind of personas, characters, and you emphasize them as them being you, as well. So I just felt like with him that extensive sexual talk, he don't even believe it, and because when I asked him originally about when I said to him, when did you get to this place? He said 40. At 40 is when he really was going in his bag and really telling women whatever he wanted, right? Well, 40 was after he had been divorced. So when I asked him, so was it like this with your wives? No. Yeah, I was. I was like, no, you weren't. Because you told us that before 40, you weren't doing this kind of stuff. That's when I knew that he was lying. And that's what I was trying to say, that a lot of it is a character, and that's what I'm saying, he's acting. And he knows how to trigger the audience. He was trying to trigger the audience. And I was trying to tell the audience, don't be triggered. Don't be triggered by him. He's still dangerous, like Sean said, but don't be triggered by him. Because he wants a moment. And we ain't gonna give it to him. But go for it, Sean.
Yeah, I think that, and from someone that's been divorced once, he's been divorced twice, and men, we don't make it out of divorce clean. It is, that you hear how women get frustrated with men that don't want to marry them, and if a man got down the aisle and then it ended in divorce, I don't care what he tells you. I don't care what the story was. I don't care if he cheated on you a billion times. I don't care what happened. At the end of the day, his heart is broken if you guys divorce. And to go through that 2 times, I know he has some wounds and scars from that. He didn't really talk to you about being in therapy, so I'm gonna assume,
Yep.
I can stand corrected. But him not mentioning therapy and the way he speaks doesn't sound like he's been to therapy. And I don't know how somebody can go through 2 divorces and not have some level of therapy. And for women that know, for any women that have been divorced and you dealt with your ex-husband as that divorce was happening, that brother was in pain, wanting you back, whatever it was, the brother was paining, right? And if that's not healed, when people that's not when you should self-heal. That's when you need to get help to heal. And when you self-heal in traumatic situations, then that's when you start concocting your own ways of fixing things, right? I'm never going to be in that position again. And I think men, especially when it comes to women, and I know for women, I'm not saying he's not misogynistic. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think Coach Joe's saying that either. We're just explaining the behavior, right? And we're explaining how he gets to that point. And people rationalize it by saying, oh, this woman hurt me, and I'm never going to be in that position again, right? Maybe I didn't get the sex that I wanted to in my marriage or in this relationship. So I'm going to make sure that every time it's the first thing that comes out. I'm not getting what I want. So this is the way I'm going to go about fixing it. So I'm going to do this. That's why you need to get yourself helped. Maybe he saw some things growing up, in his household that unfortunately skewed his perception of how men should deal with women. And maybe he tried to be the nice guy, quote unquote, and it didn't work out for him. There's a couple of different roads and avenues why he could have gotten to where he is now. But I think ultimately all roads lead to him not dealing effectively with the things that are haunting him from his past. So he's projecting outward. He's created this whole persona, this character that we see, and it's a shield. It's a shield for him. But unfortunately, it winds up repelling most people. In his mind, he was like, hey, if somebody takes the time to get past this shield, it's like a test. When they say men that test women, it's not good, right? So he set up this test, right? If you can get past this test, now you can get one step closer to really knowing the real me and maybe getting into earning my heart. Wrong, because you're still operating from a place of hurt and pain. But to you, it looks strong. It looks like bravado. It looks like, I'm talking about the things that identify with men. If you heard him several times, he was like, I'm representing men. This is how he's This is an example of somebody that's self-healing, because that self-talk, he's now taking the self-talk that occurs in his head and he's telling us. So we got an insight into who he is and how he talks to himself, because he was like, no, I'm talking for the men. That's him convincing himself, hey, I figured it out. I took the red pill and now I know the truth, right? Not the red pill manosphere, but the red pill truly, where it comes from the matrix, right? So now I have the truth and now I know how to fix it. And now I'm going to show all of you what I've learned. It's still flawed, skewed, wrong, jacked up, dangerous.
Bro, you smashed it. I can't even lie to you. Smashed it. Absolutely smashed it with that. And when you're saying about the testing, that is literally what it is. It is the test that he's putting out there. And if you can get past that, then you get to know me. And that is somebody who's greatly wounded. That is somebody who is extremely wounded and someone who's very much in a lot of pain. You know, and a lot of pain. And so when he does what he does, why I keep saying that is partly as an act is because he has to act that role out, because really and truly that's not who he actually is at the core. So the test is there to protect the fragile ego and protect the heart. So if I don't put that thing out there, it's almost like being in this class, right? See, and I think it's very hard for people to empathize with men, because men do a lot of damage. So I agree that a lot of men do a lot of damage, you know, and it's like the class clown, right? The class clown in school. When you see that in your classroom, there's someone in your class and they're being a class clown. It's not that they're not trying to be. It's not that they're not a funny person or not being comedic. They have those skills. They are comedic. They are a funny person, etc., etc. But they're not choosing the time and the season correctly, and they're doing it because there's a wound oftentimes there, or they're bored and they feel like, you know what, they've surpassed the class and they've got nothing to offer for the class, right? But there's a reason why that child is acting out. It's very much harder to see when men do it because they're grown adults, and so some of us don't look at men the same way because you grown. You know what I mean? But a lot of these men are trapped in their child development stages. So a lot of the behaviors that we're seeing are childlike. And so when you see it, but you see a grown-ass adult behaving like a child, it's hard to reconcile once more again, right? We don't usually have that empathy for that person. And I get it. But yeah, when I see him jesting the way he's jesting and the clowning that I see him doing, I'm looking at it and I'm going, you are the class clown. You are the class clown. And we need to see very much beyond your class clown behavior. But I need you to also see it beyond your class clown behavior, that there's something deeper that's happening with you. And there's something going on with you that you don't fully acknowledge is actually happening, as to what's the subconscious processor that's working underneath that's causing you to act consciously in this particular way. And so we keep saying class clown, but it's the Joker that he identified with, because that's the persona he's chosen in order to protect oneself. If I can make you laugh, if I can be as heinous as possible, like you were saying, once I do that, if somebody gets past that line, then they're gonna see me for me. Then maybe this person's worth my time actually giving my energy to. And funny enough that you said that, Sean, he actually mentioned that. If you listen to it at the very beginning of the interview, he actually said, you know, I have wounds and I have cuts, but if you know me and you get close to me, you'll know. I don't need to tell you what the cuts are. So he's expecting people to go beyond that point and get deeper with him. But the problem is, you alienate a lot of people before you get to that point. But in his head, the logic is, even if I alienate all these people, if one person decides to go past the guard, then that's the right person for me, right? But unfortunately, you can hurt a lot of people in the process by doing that. And that's why it's a problem what he chooses to do.
My mouse was having a mind of its own. I was trying to hit to the mute button. It was all over the place. So yeah, no, 100%. And I think what he doesn't understand is that when you put up walls like that, you miss opportunities, and you do yourself a disservice, and you do other people a disservice, because the wall is meant to do what? It's meant to keep people out, and it's going to do that. So when you put those walls up, it's going to keep everybody out. not just the good and the bad. You know, maybe a few will scale that wall, but who knows? Those intruders, those people may not be the people that you want climbing your wall. You know, so you should, you know, work on that and work on having boundaries. And I think he thinks the wall is a boundary, but it's not. It's a barrier, right? We should have boundaries, but we shouldn't have barriers. And he has created this ineffective barrier, and all it does is just repel mostly everyone, because just like the ladies are, you know, a good percent of a chunk of them are automatically annoyed and frustrated with him, and that's what's going to happen. Some will be more, you know, boisterous about it, and some will be like, you know, it's a no for me. And this is what I'm saying. Who knows? Maybe Maya did like him. Maybe Maya was willing to give him a chance. We don't know. Okay, we can assume and say, oh no, not, you know, but whatever it is, I'm using her as an example of that. He was doing this, putting up this barrier, and she might have been somebody who he could have had a genuine connection with. But guess what? You put the boundary up, not the boundary, you put the barrier up, and now you'll never get a chance to know her. But I think it's also sometimes, again, this is the self-talk, because this is the danger of our mind. Is a beautiful thing, but it's a dangerous thing, because we talk ourselves out of so many things, right? So he can sit in front of a woman like Maya. You heard him. He was super complimentary of her. She's beautiful. He liked her. But how much you want to bet? And this is a bet, right? So I could be wrong. But how much you want to bet he looked at her and was like, yeah, I'm probably never going to get a chance with her. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go all the way to the extreme, because I know I'm not really going to get a chance with her. I know she's not really in my league. So now you've just ruined it, right? Because you don't know, but you psyched yourself out, right? Just like you're at work and you're like, oh, I really want this promotion. But then you talk to yourself, oh, I'm not as qualified. Oh, there's other people. I don't, blah, 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 blah. You fill in the blanks and you talk yourself out of clicking that button and applying. It's the same thing in relationships, and people do that. They psych themselves out because I think, and again, I'm going to talk about men. It applies to everyone, but men mostly. Most of us, and I say us because myself included, we fear rejection. And rejection from a woman, you don't have any idea of how soul crushing that is for us as men, especially if we get up the courage to talk to you, or we get a moment where we're gonna, you know, approach you, or, you know, get a chance with you, and we get rejected. It is soul crushing. It's soul crushing. And a lot of men, that hurt, they remember it from the time when they were kids. The first time it happened, the second time it happened. Chances are there's probably not going to be a third or fourth, because now they've tried to figure out the rules to the game. But I say all that again to say, this is where you see him going through these different aspects of his personality, this character that he's built up, because it helps him avoid dealing with what happened. It helps him avoid dealing with those things that are closest to him that he doesn't want to deal with. So he wants to keep it repelled and not deal with it.
Well, you're slapping right now. You are slapping it correctly, and that's, let me put a pause on that. But it's, you know, you're hitting it correctly. Pause. But you know, listen, you're actually right. That, and you know what? There's a story. Let me tell you a story. So years ago, I was talking to a very pretty girl, and I mean, the girl was model-esque, and I couldn't believe it. She entered into my DMs. We started going back and forth debating, right? And we're just talking and debating. But I was insecure, right? At this point, I was very insecure. I just gave my life to Christ, but I was very insecure at this point, right? And we're debating. And she's going back and forth with me. And all I can think in my head is, I don't think this girl really, really likes me. She might be trying to play me, right? Okay. So as we've been talking over the next few days and weeks, right? She's sharing things with me. Like, if it's snowing, she'll take a picture of it snowing. She'll take a picture of her dress. This girl was fire, and I'm talking about one of the most fire girls I've ever seen in my entire life. So I am sweating, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I am sweating. And so, like, she's sharing things with me, like what boots that she's wearing, what clothes. I remember some of the conversations we're having, and literally, It got to a place in the conversation and she asked me, "Oh, do you like me?" And I said, "Now, why would you think that?" Bro, the girl was like, "Oh, no, okay, well, if you don't, then cool, innit?" I said, no. I said, why are you trying to play me for? I went into a rant. I said, why are you trying to play me? Why are you trying to draw me in to make me like you when you know you don't feel the exact same way? Da, 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 da. The girl was like, whoa, what the hell is going on here? Safe to say, we didn't talk again since then, right? We kind of caught up a little bit, maybe a year later, whatever, but it wasn't the same again. Why am I telling the story? Is because literally I could not believe that this girl was in my DMs talking to me. She was so fire. And I mean, I showed my boys, the boys were like, my God, bro, this girl is absolutely lank. And I'm like, bro, I swear to God, I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it did it. I couldn't believe it. So I actually sabotaged it. I broke it. I said, no, there's no way. She shared. Now, when I look back, I'm like, she was sharing everything with me. Life, this, that, dit. We're having conversations. But I was just scared that she's trying to play me. She just wants me to get drawn in emotionally and she's gonna discard me. So I couldn't think of it anything more than that. I wanted to protect myself. So I sabotaged it. And that's the same thing that you're saying about Lamar, is that even, yes, he liked Maya. He thought Maya was a stunning person, hence why he chose her to talk about when we were talking. Stunning woman, whatever. Instead of actually showing him who he really is, he couldn't. He had to self-sabotage it because he's afraid that if the person gets to see who they see beyond the mask, they may not like who they see beyond the mask. And so before you reject me at the point where you see all of me, who I really am, let me put out the crazy persona first and foremost. I need to put my test on you. And really and truly, it's a self-sabotage. Self-sabotage.
Yeah, and I mean, I just want to help the ladies, right? Because it's 2024. We're not doing the gender wars in 2024. Okay, so when I'm talking about the hurt and the rejection and how it feels as a man, trust me, it's not to minimize the rejection that women feel. Okay, but I'm just letting you know, as a man, it hits very, very different for us. I think we just need to also understand that men and women are different, right? So we experience emotions differently. And when we deal with things, it is different. We are designed to be different for a reason, and it's good, right? So it doesn't mean that when you get rejected for whatever reason, that you don't feel hurt or you don't feel a sense of pain. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that men deal with and process rejection very differently. For us to sit up here and talk about this, these aren't normal conversations that men have in totality, right? We see more and more men talking about our feelings and our emotions, but generally, it is very taboo, right? So women, it is okay for women to cry. It is okay for women to express disappointment, generally, right? Not to say every woman, every household, but generally it is society accepts it if a woman cries. We lean in when a woman cries. Again, this is generally, but when a man cries, that is seen as a weakness. And there's probably a few examples where it's acceptable for men to cry universally, right? A funeral, an extreme amount of pain, right? But there's also other reasons where we might cry, right? As human beings, but they're just not universally accepted, and it has to be explained. And so what I'm saying is, for men who traditionally have been taught to press our emotions down, and the only emotion that gets kind of celebrated or okay is anger, then when we have to deal with an emotion that's different than anger, most men have challenges with how to process that. And some of us, it goes left, and then you add whatever trauma and other experiences that you have on top of that. And this is where you get into these scenarios like this, where you have a man who's just looking like and acting like a wild person, a wild, unhinged, disrespectful guy. But we are saying, like, hey, listen, we're going to peel back the layer. This is what we're doing. This is why a man like that might behave like this. So there might be a lot of other reasons, but I'm telling you, it's not acceptable. Can you imagine when guys we approach, a lot of times we're with other guys, right? So it's like your other guys are seeing the rejection. Then you can't really talk about it. You have to look like, oh, well, I didn't want her anyway. That's why you hear that, right? Again, doesn't make it right. And I'm going to land my plane here. Doesn't make it right, but I'm just explaining to you why women see these things from men, right? So a guy will walk up to a girl and he'll approach her. His approach is horrible. We're going to discount how he approached you, but he approached you. He gets rejected. His friends are looking back. That's where the she ain't ish, she wasn't pretty, blah, 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 cursing or whatever happens that's repulsive. It's because he can't turn around to his guys and be like, yo, bro, that just hurt my feelings, bro. I feel like it's not acceptable. It should be, right? It should be okay for us to take the L and be like, yo, bro, she just didn't like me. Healed guys, that's what we do. Yo, man, I'm going to be honest. I went in, I gave her my best. She wasn't feeling it. That's how we should walk away. Unhealed, we walk away and we make it about you because we can't tell our homeboys, hey, listen, that crushed me. I saw myself walking down the aisle with her. It's just not going to happen for most men.
Literally that, Sean, that is literally a great, that's a great way to put it, and I've listen, I've been in some situations where you approach a girl and it's not worked, and you had to walk away in the pain that you feel, and you know what? I was speaking to a friend the other day, and she was like, yeah, approaching a guy is hard, and I said, yeah, because it's approaching anybody's hard. Yeah, but when you're the person that's always receiving, you may not be able to empathize, and that's probably a better word I should say. You may not be able to empathize with the pain that someone feels. People just feel that men should just be men and it's just do it. But the fact of the matter is, a fear of rejection is a real thing, and then it causes other behaviors to kind of overtake so that you don't receive the rejection. I've done a video and I'll release it probably this week, where there's a gentleman who's married and he was talking with his wife and the two other couples, right? And he explains, she was like, wait, he was so consistent, present, talking to me, but he never made a move. And then he explains himself saying, I was afraid. I was afraid of rejection. So I played the role until I was absolutely sure that this is what it was, and then I could make a move. What was he afraid of? Rejection. So, of course, rejection takes different pathways, and some people really take it to heart, and some people take it to the deepest core because the rejection relates to their ego and relates to their personhood. And when rejection relates to your personhood, you're actually not saying you're rejecting my love or rejecting my advancement. You're rejecting me, and that links back to whatever you've had in the past about how you value yourself. And if you feel rejected, when someone rejects you, it becomes an intense storm again, right? And that behavior then becomes very, very, very destructive. It can be, right, in that instance. So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of us who do fear that rejection or fear that thing because, again, as men, we don't discuss these things. I mean, by the grace of God, when I went out with my boys, we laugh about it, right? You get rejected, they're going to laugh at you. And you go, on to the next one, bro. On to the next one. You know what I mean? But I also have seen situations where, even if if you're a man, have you ever watched another man approach another woman? Listen, if you ever been in a club and you just see someone approaching them and a guy goes over, talks to the girl, gets rejected, my heart does two things. It's part of me laughs in my head, and then part of me goes, that's so painful, bro. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, bro. Yeah? So, like, even just watching someone approach a woman in public is scary. And oftentimes that's what people are afraid of. It's not just a rejection. It's a rejection happening in public, people seeing that you have been rejected. And actually, it also does something to you socially as well amongst women. They don't want to tell you this, but I'll tell them for you, okay? When you get rejected by one woman publicly and she sees it, she's also considering your value, because why did you get rejected by that girl and think you can come to me? Oh, no. Hence why, again, sometimes we have to play the game, because if you get rejected in public here, that girl that you go to talk to over there, if she sees that you got rejected over there, she's going to ask herself the question, you think that after she rejected you, I'm going to accept you? Oh no, my levels, I can't accept my value to be devalued like that. So it's psychological. So these things do happen. They they happen quite a lot. And I know ladies might not say it, but let them tell the truth for once and how they feel. They will tell you, seeing a brother get rejected over that side and then coming to you after, you're gonna be insulted. Okay, and we know because when they talk freely, they even talk about people that. Let me tell you something. One thing that women will do, yeah, they'll tell you, "No, I'm real respectful. I don't mind if a man approaches me." Then when you explain and said to them a guy that you didn't like, they were like, "How did he think like he can actually be on my level?" I've heard most women say that, right? So there is a lot that goes on. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes psychologically. But rejection is a very painful thing. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Miss Ione is on a tear, so we're gonna leave her be, And I just don't like it. It's not my pain is better than your pain. My pain is worse than your pain. I don't. It's not. We're not competing against whose pain is worse than the other. I think, and this is where we just sometimes we have to have empathy for one another. And I'm not saying empathy for Lamar, broader than him, empathy for one another. Right. So women's issues and the pain that women can feel, there's certain things that women go through. I'm just never going to understand it. Right. Because I'm not a woman. I can exercise and put on my empathy cap and say, hey, listen, I respect you and I understand what you're saying. And this is your scenario. Right. So I think sometimes let's just give each other a little bit more good grace. And we're not making excuses for Lamar. If anybody watched the interview, you definitely, you gave him lots of feedback, lots of, you were calling him out for his behavior, and the rest he kind of just did himself. So I think there is no disputing that Lamar is someone that is not, anyone shouldn't be dating in this stage, right? He is not healed. He doesn't have a level of self-awareness. He pushes boundaries intentionally, and that can be dangerous because when you're not reading the room, when you're not looking at people and trying to understand what if they want what you're giving, then you're always going to, you're going to misfire. So I think at the end of the day, hey, it is what it is. But I can tell you that that's what I heard from him when I heard him, when I just kind of looked beyond what he was saying and I really got it. I'm like, this guy, yeah, this is what happened. This is his origin story. That's why he goes back to the prom. That's why he talks about the 14 different schools. You don't make out of that unscathed. You didn't have a relationship with your dad. So what does that tell me? What is your view of what being a man? Where did that come from? Where did it come from? Who are you watching? Who are you emulating? Who are the people in your life? He didn't really speak a lot of it. And unfortunately, a lot of times what happens in the community, he said his mom worked hard. So that meant he had a lot of time to himself. He had a lot of time to himself, self-talk, and also watching other people. So depending on what environment he's in, who he's watching, that's going to be how he filters through, oh, this is who I need to be. I want to be like this person, and I see this person, they get the options that I want, so I'm going to emulate them. Well, if what they're doing is toxic, if what they're doing is inaccurate, incorrect, harmful, then that's what he's going to be emulating.
I definitely hear that 100%. Yeah, I definitely hear that as well. So, you know, it was such an interesting situation as well with him. And like I said, I feel like, hopefully he watches this back. And when he watches it back, he'll be able to see where he's gone wrong. And in fact, no, let me say this. That's another thing that also, that kind of, alerted me. When I asked him what he learned, the way he articulated what he could have done better I was like, wait, hold on. That's why I feel like you're playing me. Because the switch to explaining what he knew that he could have done better was not giving somebody who was so oblivious to what they were doing. Because when he explained it, he was like, "Yeah, maybe I could. You know, I know I need to be less aggressive. I need to be this. I was like, "Wait, so what were you arguing with me for the last 30 minutes or so about what you were doing, and then come out the other side? You haven't heard me really, and then come out the other side, and then able to explain how great, how bad your behavior and what should have been improved. It was almost, and that's why I said he was acting, because it was too good. The way you explained what you were, it wasn't like someone who's self-aware. What we did with Patricia on the masculine, she could have done better. She showed you that that's her mind. She can't get away from that. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, she couldn't get away with that. So that for me there, was telling me, listen, hey, you know what you're doing, right? And I need to come out of that space. I need to come out of that space, right? Because first and foremost, it's not even good for you as a man, as a character, to play that kind of character. It's actually dangerous. It doesn't work the same way. Men and women don't have the same, excuse here. You playing a very sexual character in this place is actually going to get you locked up, and it's going to create a reputation too. Meaning that when you do interact with women on a normal basis, any kind of thing that's out of key, they're going to look at you differently. This is now national. Be a class clown by all means, if that's the character you want to play. But using sex as a way to also push that's a very dangerous thing, right? Very, very dangerous thing. And you know, I didn't ask him because, you know what, I almost didn't want to blow up his spot, but I really wanted to ask him, like, brother, how does this work with you teaching kids and you doing this? This is wild, right? You know, I was like, this is very, very wild. If I'm a parent of that child and I see this interview, I'm scared of you. If I see you on Ready to Love, I'm scared of you. I don't want you anywhere near my kids. You know what I mean? Like, I had to keep in my head, I'm like, if I'm a parent, I don't want you anywhere near my kids. That you talking like this, that you telling me you can motivate kids. There's nothing in what you were saying on this interview and what you showed on that show that tells me that you should be coaching anybody's kid. You know what I mean? So I'm in my head, I'm like, bro, this is not it. It's not it.
Yeah, and I think him constantly saying, you know, I respect women, you know, I'm not disrespectful, I'm transparent. Again, that's more self-talk, right? Because if he even absorbs that some of that is true, then that means that he's got to make some substantial changes. And, you know, although, yeah, we can give him credit for saying, you know, I would be less aggressive. That's one step. That's step 1A maybe. But the other part is really, you know, are you looking for reciprocal energy? You know, it's one thing to put something out there, but is that even the tone of the nature of the conversation? Because he kept talking about sex is out there. You know, everybody wants sex. You know, we just got to put it out. We got to talk about it. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to have these conversations because people are having sex anyway. You know, so why don't we just get to talk about it so that we're all on the same page? Yeah, but you need to understand, is the woman sitting across from you, you know, in your company, somebody that wants to have sex with you? Is that a conversation she wants to have right now? Is that, and that's what you were telling him about the reading the room, and he kept pushing back on that. You know, that's the biggest problem. It's not, you can still say, he can be less aggressive in his approach, but still say things that are inappropriate, still say things that make someone uncomfortable. So I think the real big step for him from a self-awareness perspective is talk to women that talk to women in a way that you are understanding them and that you want to have the conversations they want to have, right? You know, and if you're looking for transactional, then you need to go to OnlyFans or fill in the blanks, you know, somebody else, right? Because if his understanding of relationships with women are transactional, then that's also problematic. And then lastly, I would think that, you know, and this is something that's helped me, right? As I talk to some of, you know, family members that I have that are women. You know, I don't have any daughters, but I have close family members and close friends that are women, right? So I think about, is this how I want somebody to talk to, you know, my mom, my sister, my daughter, if I had one, my goddaughter? Is that how I would want them speaking to them? And if the answer is no, then you need to check yourself, but he needs to change the self-talk in his head to be one of where he's keyed in to the women that he's engaging with and not what is about him, because he's solely focused on himself because he's in self-protect, self-preservation, preventing himself from hurting, but he's forgetting sex is not by yourself, right? You know, that's a different act, right? So if you want to be with a woman, you need to be in tune to her needs. So key into her needs before you keep being so focused on yours.
Listen, I definitely hear that. Well, listen, our time is coming to an end as well. But listen, I know we will have all different points and opinions on that, on this show and stuff. And, hopefully, again, Lamar, just like we did with the Patricia situation, we'll see this, and this is an act of love. We don't want to bury you 6 feet deep, but we do want to also highlight just a little bit how dangerous some of your behavior is in some aspects, and also how taking a journey of healing. As I said, this is sponsored by BetterHelp. So, taking a journey of healing will be so beneficial, and talking to someone who can actually begin to help you unpack some of those thoughts and some of those hurts that you have, and work in that space. Because I'll be honest with you, as much as you may feel like you weren't making people uncomfortable, you were. You know what I mean? And playing this particular role may seem fun, but the consequences can be grave. And I think you just kind of said it there, Sean. If you had a daughter, this is not how you'd want to behave with your daughter. This is not how you'd accept, a man coming into her life, right? You'd warn her about this kind of dude. And I don't want it to be the case for him for long term. I know he's had a bit of a change last 3 years. He's now 43, so whatever. I hope there's another turning around the corner, that, you choose better, and you heal from some of those wounds, so you can also do better and show people better as well. But let me let you conclude, and wrap us up, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, no, again, Kojo, kudos on having a conversation, as a cohesive a conversation as you could have had, with Lamar. And for Lamar, if you happen to tune into this, listen, this is a safe space over here. We want to help you, brother. We want to help you have good options, and better options, and really get to the root cause of, why sometimes you do certain things, and get the reactions that you get. Because I'm sure no one at the end of the day feels good walking around repelling people. So I think the lesson for all of us, especially for us men, as we deal with any hurt, trauma, pain, don't build up a barrier, right? Boundaries are healthy and they're effective, but barriers repel. And we don't want to repel people away from us. As humans, we are built to be in community with one another. So we need each other. We're important to each other, and we should respect each other, right? And when we're talking about matters of the heart, we're talking about matters of intimacy. We need to understand that it is not just about me and what I want, but it's about seeing what's important to you. Right. And for you, we mean the women. So Lamar, please, you need to be as equally concerned about the women that you're engaging with as you are concerned about yourself. And that's what's going to get you better options. Back to you, Coach.
Thank you very much, Sean. Audience, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate y'all. It's been an interesting conversation as well, around this. We will have a few more, obviously, lives coming in the next weeks or so as well. So watch out for that. Don't forget Love is Blind coming out on the 14th as well. So we'll do some work around there as well for you guys. I've been in contact with Will as well, so we'll get that chopped up as well. So, hopefully we'll get Will on here and get his perspectives as well. So I spoke to Will, I spoke to LaRon, and Koisha. So it's looking like it's gonna be an action-packed season. Koshia, sorry. You're absolutely right, Koshia. I don't want the smoke from her. So Koshia. And we're gonna get her on this channel too. I haven't heard anything from April. I know people ask about April. I haven't heard anything from April, so I'm gonna try and see if I can get a hold of her and maybe get her on as well. But yeah, we'll try and get those people on and interview them all as well this season. So make sure you guys stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. We like to educate as well as entertain on this channel as well. Make sure you stay locked and stay loaded, and we'll see you again tomorrow night. This time for Married at First Sight, because I did miss the last 2 or 3. So Sean gonna kill me if I don't do it. So I will be on it tomorrow. So I appreciate y'all, and stay locked and stay loaded. Someone said